Good evening, everyone. It's a sheer honor and a pleasure to welcome you all once again on the live coaching session that would be done by Anupam Arun. And before I introduce him, I would like to welcome you all once again on this beautiful occasion where we are celebrating the International Coaching Week. International Coaching Week is organized every year where most of the coaches or all the coaches they come together to celebrate the essence of coaching, and they go back to the basic essence or the intention of why on first place they gotten into coaching. And as you are aware that we are organizing back-to-back webinars where we are bringing the few of the world-class experts giving us different perspectives around how what coaching is and how it can be leveraged to take a leadership development, the leadership competency of an individual to the next level. So in the past, we have got people of the likes of people like Jules, people like Brian, people like um, Harvind Singh Bedi, people like Amit Chawla, and they're coming together from their own niches, right? And they are talking about how coaching can be leveraged to make a difference in the lives of the people. And today, the guest that we have is definitely one of my favorites. I was talking to somebody that, every time when I need somebody to speak to, he's one of the two people that I go to, right? Uh, Before I get onto the credentials that he has, the accomplishment that he has actually achieved in his life, let me tell you, he's a very special friend of mine. He's like an elder brother to me, somebody who I consider as my mentor, a loving father to two beautiful daughters, and a very, very loving husband. We have got amazing conversations together. We sit for hours together to discuss what we like, what we don't like. We talk about what's the deeper purpose of life, why do we exist. So these are the kind of conversations that I've had the honor of having with Anupam. And one of our favorite things that we do together is we go out and eat paratha together. So that's one of our favorite things to do. Now, talking about his professional accomplishment, ladies and gentlemen, Anupam is the country head and the SVP Senior Vice President at Cvent. And he has led multiple lines of businesses successfully, executing to objectives and managing multiple stakeholders in diverse geographies in a matrix environment. He has done work in different organizations in different geographies, including America, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and Asia, of course. Somebody who's got a proven track record in identifying improvement opportunities, contributing to business bottom line, and meeting and exceeding your profitability goals. In nurturing talent and leading teams of professionals with focus on delivering value to stakeholders, and who's the custodian of organization culture. As far as I'm aware, Anupam does not only talk about coaching, he lives coaching, which is so visible by the kind of initiatives that Cvent is taking to ensure that people are on track even during COVID-19 situation, right? Uh, Anupam has been instrumental in putting a structure together to create the coaching culture in the organization. And that's where every person breathes coaching in the organization that he's a part of. As I mentioned, somebody who's very, very special to me, and I'm going to take enough and more pride to watch his coaching session with another colleague of ours, Shalini Bajaj. So, Shalini, if I may request you, if you can just jump onto the screen and let's welcome everyone. Anupam, thank you so much, my friend, my brother, and a wonderful coach and a wonderful mentor and a philosopher for me. It's a sheer honor for me to have you here on this platform. Over to you, leads. Thank you, Anupam.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. Uh, well, this is called no pressure at all because when I went through my coaching certification, Gaurav was my coach, and he was the coach for the whole class. A very accomplished person in the global arena, and somebody that we are very proud of to have from India. So, Gaurav, hearing these words from you obviously make my heart swell with pride, but it also puts a huge responsibility for you, the audience here, and obviously for everyone that I coach. So, thank you for the faith. Shalini, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So today we're going to have this live session. I am the coachee and I have the privilege of getting coached by Mr. Anupam Arun. So, yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Shalini. So, good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, sir.
Great. I hope everybody is safe and healthy in the current COVID environment. It's very important for us to be in our best fettle, physically and mentally. So it's a privilege to be here as your coach and to be with all of us who are on the webinar. What would you like to explore to make this session fruitful for you?
So since I have this opportunity to be coached, so I would like that if I can explore how can I work on my willpower.
Willpower. All right. So tell me a little bit more about that. Why is this important to you? Why is it important for you to work on your willpower?
Well, it's been a couple of months that I've been dwelling on that. That whatever the targets that I set for myself, I do not really stick to them. However, if I am answerable to anybody, I give my 200%. So, promise to self is something which I do not really fulfill all the times. So that is something which leaves me with dissatisfaction. So then I thought that possibly I really need to work on how can I strengthen my willpower.
So Charu, you're talking about willpower and your ability to meet targets, and you're telling us a little bit more about why this is so critical for you. So go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So recently I've been experiencing that whatever the promises that I do to myself, I do not really fulfill them. So promises like working on my health, working on couple of skills which are required on the work front. So somewhere all that leaves me with dissatisfaction towards the end of the day. And so I've been thinking that what is it that is stopping me to enact on them. So ultimately I came with a conclusion to myself that I think it's the lack of willpower to make those things happen. So that's
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay. And let's assume you had the willpower. What would be possible for you then? What will you be able to achieve?
So if I'm able to work on the list of things that I promised to myself, definitely the quality of things that I deliver for myself and for others, that will improve.
Hmm. Hmm. Quality of delivery to self and others. And who would others be, Shalini?
So definitely, first of all, it's my immediate family, my husband, my son, my siblings, my immediate family, immediate and extended family. And apart from that,
Hmm.
people with whom I work or at my work front.
Okay, so you'll be able to improve the quality of delivery to yourself, to your colleagues, and your family. Have I understood correctly?
Yes.
Okay, and then what would you get that's even deeper and more important to you?
Possibly a better me, if I say somebody who is more settled and satisfied, um, somebody who's able um, to an extent live to the expectations that others have.
Okay, a better me. So more settled, more satisfied. What else do you see in a better you?
Somebody who's more happy, somebody who's more yeah, somebody who's more happy and satisfied.
Wonderful. So as I understood it correctly, you would like to work on your willpower and improve it so that it helps you improve the quality of delivery to self and others and actually allows you to be a better version of yourself, a more happy version of yourself. Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have 30 to 45 minutes ahead, Shalini. And what I'd like to ask is that what exactly would you like to leave this session with?
So, utilizing this time that you have mentioned, if I am able to identify one factor which is which is becoming either a hurdle or which is actually stopping me to work on the things that I plan. Which
Okay.
one factor which can strengthen
Okay.
my willpower.
Okay. And how might you get this list of factors?
Possibly, I mean, during our discussion only we can figure it out what it could be.
Sure. Right. And thus far, what has it been in your thinking? Because you said you've been thinking about this topic. I'm interested in knowing thus far, when you've introspected on the aspect of willpower and you mentioned hurdles, what have they been?
So, I think self-love is one factor which certainly plays a great role in
Mm-hmm.
me having a stronger willpower. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Another is adherence to the schedules that I make for myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly the third one could be how to really how can I really look at not controlling all of them, but whatever the elements which are there in my control to control the environmental factors which affects all this.
Okay. So you've thus far thought that there are three factors largely: self-love, adherence to schedule, and controlling what you can control in the environment.
Yes.
So, if I was to ask you, without putting on a spot, which out of these would you think is your biggest, sort of objective or hurdle that you'd like to work on?
So I think self love. I think self love is something which I would like to um, explore further.
Okay, self-love. So let's look at self-love and understand, how would you know that you've got this goal? If that's the goal you'd like to achieve, how would Shalini know? How would you measure it?
So the measurement criteria will be very easy to identify. It's like I have a good health.
Mm-hmm.
I fulfill the promises which I make to myself, which is very visible. It'll become very visible um, because I'll be sticking on to the ideas of betterment for myself. So basically, implementing what all I
Okay.
plan for.
Okay. So implementing your ideas, uh, ensuring good health, fulfilling the promises to yourself, and over what time frame, Shalini, would you like to achieve this?
Say 3 months time.
Okay, over the next 3 months. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so let's look at what we've got here. Let me try and summarize what we would be deciding to work on, right? So it would be something like how to strengthen your willpower by improving self-love as measured by your fulfillment of your promises to yourself over the next 3 months. Is that a fair statement?
That is indeed.
Okay, and towards that, in the next 30 to 45 minutes, what would you like to have in your hand when the session ends towards this particular goal that we have just agreed and summarized on? What would be helpful for you?
Possibly, how can I nurture self love?
And in order to do that, what would you like to have in your hands? Some factors of self-love, or what would you like to?
Yeah, some activities, some factors, some indicators that how can I really nurture it?
So effectively, um, if we were to figure out factors that can help you nurture self-love, thereby improving your willpower and helping you become a better version of yourself, you think that would be a good utilization of our time together?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me ask you, if you were to think of all the people that you know and assume that you wanted to reach out to one of them for advice on these factors for self-love, who would you think of? Who would you approach?
My cousin, one of my cousin. Although she's
One of your cousin.
yeah, although she's
Okay.
younger than me, but then yeah,
Right.
I think yeah, I think she knows it the best.
Okay. So do you want us? We can take a real name, or we can take a name just so that we can refer to this cousin.
Yeah.
Should I just?
So her name
You'd
is
like to share a name? Or
Meeta Singh. Meeta
Meeta.
Singh.
All right. Meeta. Okay. So Shalini, let's assume you're getting out of your house into a garden right now, hopefully within your complex because it's COVID, and you see that there are two chairs there, and you assume that Meeta is sitting right in front of you, and you are sitting. There's a space for you. You walk up to her and say, "Hey, Meeta, good to see you," and you sit down on the chair opposite to her. Now we have a camera up there that's recording everything that you and Meeta are going to talk about, and we'll try and then circle back to that. What would that conversation look like between you and Meeta on the topic of factors for self-love? What would you ask her, and what would like to hear both sides of that conversation from your lens? What would you say to Meeta?
So possibly I'll ask her that how does she manages to do what she wants to do. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So
Hmm.
although she does not really although she does not really hear a lot of good things from parents, that she does what she does is
So why don't you? oh, Sorry, go ahead, please. Apologies.
so she does not really listen to parents that this is it what this is it what you need to do, that is what you need to do. She does whatever she wants to,
Okay.
and she achieves
So
that.
let's assume. Sure. So let's assume Meeta was sitting there. Now you're not here. You are in this garden on this chair, and there's Meeta in front of you. So this is one aspect that you've picked up. Just ask her a question. What would you ask Meeta exactly if she was sitting in front of you? I know it's difficult in a webinar, but I want you to use your imagination and think you're in this garden. There's Meeta in front of you. She's the person you'd like to go to for advice on this sensitive topic of factors for self-love that can help you improve your willpower. Put up 2 or 3 questions to Meeta. What would be your first question to her? So you would say Meeta, and then what would you say?
So Meeta, what do you do when you pick up um, the list of things that you want to achieve?
Okay. So what do you do to execute on the list of things you pick up to do? And what would Meeta's answer be to you?
Possibly she'll say, Didi, it is very easy. Anything that I feel will give me excitement, I do it.
Okay. Anything that gives me excitement, I pick up that thing to execute, right?
Yes.
Brilliant. What else would you ask her? Let's just carry this conversation. It's very interesting. I'm sure I and the panelists and everybody around listening to you would like to know more. What else would you ask Meeta? That's one question. What would you do to pick up the list of things to do? And Meeta's answer, as I understood, was anything that's exciting, I pick that up to do. What
Yes.
else? And don't worry, the camera is recording everything. So you just go ahead and have a free flowing conversation.
Yeah. So Meeta, how do you really manage when you do not have the required resources to implement your target?
Okay, required resources. Okay. So what do you think her answer is going to be?
Beg, borrow, steal.
Beg, borrow, steal. All right. So that's fine. What else? What else would be on your mind? But remember, you're thinking, factors of self-love. What are the questions related to that would you ask her? And at any moment where you think you're done with your questions, you can stop. It doesn't have to be a endless chat with Meeta, but I'm sure you've met her after so many years. She was on your mind as a person. You may want to ask her a few other pieces of advice.
Yeah. So Meeta, do you really feel bad when others say this is how you were not supposed to do, and still you went ahead and then I mean you did it? So do you really feel bad about that? And if you do, how do you really manage
Okay.
that?
Okay. So how do you manage criticism when you do things that you thought would right to do?
Yeah. So
Again, what do you think her answer to you would be, her advice to you would be?
she possibly will say that I don't think a lot. I just do it.
Just do it. All
I
right.
what others expect. It's just that I don't really do it.
So I do things, not necessarily caring about what others are saying. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I mean, I just do things because that's what makes me happy.
Wonderful. What else? Maybe one or two last questions on again things that you were mentioning that are maybe hurdles for you on your journey to having a stronger willpower.
Yeah, while talking to Meeta, I could really sense it well that it's not that she is not a people person or she doesn't really love her people. The advice that she's giving to me is that I know my people love me and they'll accept me the way I am. So I do not really have to live exactly the way they want, possibly, and because they love me, they accept me. Yeah, I think that's the advice that she's giving me.
All right. Let me change tracks. So we'll say thank you to Meeta and let her go. And let's look at a scenario now, Shalini, which is we said 90 days. So let's assume we are now in August, and Shalini has achieved her goal of strengthening her willpower. And we as a group meet again, and you're looking back at the 3 months between May, June, and July. Would you like to share a few things that you would have seen Shalini doing in these 3 months? What actually has Shalini done to achieve her goal?
First of all, create a list of things that I would like to implement. Uh, so basically, the set of objectives that I have for myself, I'll pen them down. Then I possibly will write down that what resources do I really require to make that happen, and
Okay.
then
So
I
you're talking in past tense. So you are seeing that Shalini has written a list of her objectives. She
yeah
has practically penned them down. Then
yeah
she has put down resources required to achieve those objectives.
yeah,
Okay. What else? What else have you seen Shalini do in those 3 months?
and then basically adhering to what all I'll just put down as my um, to do list.
Adhering to the to-do list.
Yeah.
And how is Shalini doing that? What is she changing?
So the advice I just got from Meeta now, saying that people who love you, they'll accept you the way you are. That gives me the more clarity and more enthusiasm to work on it. Happy me is a better me, which is better accepted by people.
Happy you is a better you. That is, sorry, happy you is a you that's better accepted by people.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else that you see changing, or this would be pretty much it?
Well, I mean, looking at it, that I see the two main objectives that we have spoken in the start of the conversation, where I was saying that the quality of the delivery for myself and for others will improve. So that gives me the visibility of healthy me, active me, somebody who's working on things on time. and then meeting the promises that I make to myself. Basically, fulfilling fulfill.
Okay. So if I was to summarize these two conversations, the one that you had with Meeta, and then when you looked back, we heard you'd pick up anything which is exciting. When you want to choose, what do you pick up to work on to improve self-love? You pick up something that is exciting. You would not overthink it, but you would do it. The words used were just do it. You would ensure that in the process of doing it, you create a list of objectives. You specifically said you pen them down. Against them, you mark the resources required, and then you ensure that you are adhering to the to-do. And the overarching comment after that you shared is that the people who love you will accept you the way you are. And a person who is a happy Shalini is better accepted by people. Is that a fair summary of what we heard? Okay. So summarizing from that, what actions would you like to take on from here on?
Yeah, so possibly the very first thing is I would write down the very first thing which I would like to I'd like to do starting tomorrow itself.
Okay, so you would like to write down. Could you say that last part again?
I'd like to write down the very first thing that I'd like to do starting tomorrow itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and along with that, so this sort of starts tomorrow, and then it has some frequency, or what kind of a timeline would you put on the list of things that you're going to start from tomorrow?
So it's going to be a daily routine that I'll be following.
Okay.
So for example, as of now, health is the very first thing which is on my mind. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll start taking care of my health starting tomorrow. Doing some
Mm-hmm.
and meditation for self is what I think right now. And then yeah, so that's the very first thing which I'll start doing. And and certainly the list of objectives which I did share with you that I will write down, because any which ways they've been there for a longer time and I've not been working on them.
Okay. And then the review mechanism that you are saying is that there'll be a daily routine to
Yes.
review this for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So if I've understood this correctly, the timeline that you're looking at is daily between now and our next session, which is in 2 weeks' time. And in that daily mechanism, you would have a list of those objectives that you have been carrying with you. Health is definitely the number one on it. And against health, you have things like meditation. And against those, you want to allocate time.
So the day starts at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
for say 30 minutes. The yoga and meditation takes place,
Mm-hmm.
and then the day starts further with the daily chores, and
Mm-hmm.
then
So maybe I'd request if you could make a note of these things as we are speaking on your sort of tracker, so that we have it handy for our next session. So starting with your daily routine, health, meditation, and the time zones that you're putting against them, and then a daily review mechanism to make sure that you have it sort of mapped between now and our next session in a couple of weeks.
sure.
Is that a fair ask? Okay. And let's just look at this one aspect of what you mentioned earlier about adherence. So what would you do to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable to this, Shalini?
Yeah, so that the daily review mechanism towards the end of the day, before going to bed, that will definitely give me the reflection of how am I performing on this, and if I'm not doing that, I know that I'm not doing that, and hence I take the right measures to do it. Right measures as
And
in
then
again coming back to the track by 6 a.m. in the morning, and then
the next day.
yes.
So if I understood it correctly, your mechanism for holding yourself accountable would be that you would review this list before sleeping and therefore get a chance to reflect on the day. And if there are any course corrections that you'd like to make, then you make them starting with the slot of 6 a.m. next morning. Have I understood that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me ask, Shalini, given that we are at the top of our allotted time of 30 minutes, what value did you get from this session?
So although whatever we've spoken about, all these informations and all these facts were very much available within my knowledge. However, the one motivation factor which I got as an advice from Meeta, that has actually shifted the gears. Um, um, so it's not that the set of things which I wanted, I never worked on them uh, because of any particular um, any particular hurdle that was there. I now I'm realizing that that is there because that factor of me realizing the motivation behind that was that possibly I want to keep all other environmental things as it is, as the way they are, and keep on saying yes to everything what all
Mhm.
is there in the environment, and overthinking all the time. What if I do this? What if I do that? What further will happen? What further may not happen? Where will it lead? And all that. And then and I was, I think, in my thought process jamming myself there, and not making things happen. So this is a great shift which I really got from the conversation that we had today. Thank you so very much for that.
And just for the benefit of everyone, that one motivating factor that allowed you to make that shift with everything else being the same, the environment being the same, you already had the list, but something changed when you mentioned about overthinking and not executing. What was that, just for the benefit of everyone who's on the webinar, again, what was that one motivational thing that Meeta told you?
Yeah, the advice that she gave, that uh, just do the set of things that you decide for yourself. People who love you, they'll keep on loving you. Rather, they'll love you more, because when you are loving yourself, the people who are there in the environment, they love you more.
Shalini, thank you so very much for being so open, being so vulnerable, picking up a topic that I'm sure is close to a lot of our hearts. And I can promise the audience who are on the webinar, it's never easy to talk about these things, even when you are in a one-to-one coaching sessions. Out of the 100 odd coaching sessions I've done, I can promise you it takes multiple interactions before people can get to this level of vulnerability. So thank you, Shalini. Thank you for sharing your life and your journey. And I hope that in some humble way, this session would have added to your journey. Thank you so very much. Heartfelt.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arupamji. Thank you so much for leading such a beautiful, wonderful session. Flawless, very, very smooth. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Shalini, for, as Anupam mentioned, for such a vulnerable human being that you were during the conversation. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to process it a little bit further. So before we get there, my request to you would be, I'm sure you would have liked a lot of things in the conversation, right? So if you can just type what all did you like in that conversation, and then we'll get into conversation. Okay, so Anupam, please hold your breath, and you may want to have a shawl in your lap because a lot of good compliments coming your way, my friend. It says brilliant session, very candid and fantastic flow. Both of you have been brilliantly genuine and make it look so simple. The initial question could be what makes you feel that you lack with power. Nishant, I'll come there. You know what could be done differently. Right now, we are just talking about what went really well. What went well? WWW, flawless and flawless. Wonderfully led. Accountable question was very good. Questioning technique was very good. You know, ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about wonderfully led, or when you're talking about questions, I would request you, if you can be as specific as possible. What question did you like? For that matter, when Anupam asks, say, so how are you going to hold yourself accountable? What's the best investment of our time? So what would you like to take away from this conversation? Now, these are very precise questions so that we all can learn from this process, right? Fantastic session, logical flow of the conversation. Thank you, Subha. The picking of the person to seek advice. Thank you. Yes, Kavita, you know, the technique that Anupam followed is where rather than looking at within yourself, we brought another third perspective. And if the third perspective has to give you an advice who you really look up to, then it becomes relatively easier to get into that conversation. Beautifully done, Anupam, beautifully done. Very effective session. I like the way it was summarized frequently. Amazing smooth conversation. Model used. Future pacing was good. Structure followed. I like that the coach easily took her to asking advice from the person she most admired. Amazing. What an eye-opener. Kochi has made it possible. Introduction of Meeta is wow. In fact, Manish, we are planning to launch a movie. And in case you would like to sponsor that, please go ahead. We are calling that movie as Meeta, the return of Meeta in the conversation. So we are just calling it the return of Meeta. So in case you would like to sponsor that, you're most welcome. Questions were leading to the right direction. Yes, Deep Shikha, thank you so much for being here. Such a pleasure to have you here. Anupam allowed the coach to open up. Anupam allowed the coachee to open up, create the right environment, and made her accountable. Yes, role modeling concept was good. Love the questions. What would you ask Meeta? Brilliant question that was, isn't it? Whom would you look out for advice? Realization came in so subtly. Asking coachee to think from the other person's point of view is a good visualization. Identifying, reviewing a spontaneous outburst, creating garden science was fabulous. Putting Shalini in imagination, bringing in the cousin to explore the insights. Structure followed. I like that the coach easily took her asking advice from the person she most admired. Yes, I like the camera is recording your conversation was excellent. Yes, you always need to bring in some humor. They say, you know, this reminds me what Dr. Madeline, everyone's teacher here. I've learned directly. I've had the honor of learning directly with Madeline and co-facilitating programs with her. So she always gives examples of Milton Erickson. And the strength of Milton Erickson was the way he used to the way he used to understand the language pattern of the other person, and the way he used to bring in humor in the conversation. Humor is a key. The more subtle the humor, the landing would be really beautiful. Questions were asked very well. I love the way the question iterated thrice for arriving at the end outcome of the session. Changing gear at the right time, shifting from cousin to the list of actions, making the client super comfortable. His coaching presence was astounding. Indeed, he's astounding. Didn't I tell you that he's one of the finest coaches I know of? Questions, flawless summarizing was super. Picking up the person coachee loves and look up to. Amazing session, powerful questioning, contracting was very nicely done. Very smooth conversation. The flow was very apt and love the summarizing, the summaries in between. Wonderful summaries to keep the track. Amazing. Both were extremely candid and flow and very structured, leading her to come out with a solution with her own resources, expertise. Excellent session. Anupam was very easy and conversational. What is the difference between addressing a client in first person and the third person? Is there a deeper nuance to this? Backtracking was very good. Love the tracking of singular focus, even moving back and forth from future to present through the conversation. I hope, Anupam, you have another shawl. Please bring it on. More comments coming. Also, the last part where he asked her to write down a few of her actions. It was amazing. The insight that Shalini got at the end. So even if it looks plain, one never knows the insight that follows. Yes. And there's this lady who's saying, Ananya Anupam. By any chance, Anupam, does this lady belong to you? She's the only one saying, what a horrible coach you are. And she's also commenting on your white beard. I don't know why she's doing what she's doing, but lady, please hold on. We'll sort out this matter at home only. Please hold on. Thank you. It says every time he was asking, always tell more about it, and always summarizing beautifully. A reference frame created to open up, deeply interested in Kochi well-being, her candidness. Not all maybe as candid, very specific while summarizing. I need to take a break now. Okay, and here it is. What a great way to move a coachee from problem thinking to solution thinking. Learned so much. Thank you. How would you make accountable was an excellent question. Now, these are what went really well. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's take a pause here and let's look at yourself. What's that one thing? And let's take a 1 minute pause and scribble it down for yourself. In case you were to pick up one key takeaway for yourself that you would like to implement into your next session, what would you choose? Just take 1 minute and then we'll take it forward. Just ignore what Ananya is saying. That's their personal matter. We should not get into that. Apart from that, pick up everything that you choose that you may want to pick up. A powerful questioning, paraphrasing. Oh, Ananya is typing again. Sorry, that was the wrong window. I wanted to send it only to Anupam. Trusting myself as a coach and letting it flow. Yes. Deepshika is saying that boss kabhi humse bhi aise baat kar liya karo. Creating a situation and problem solving. Yes. Paraphrasing. Yes. Write the actions you would like to do. Absolutely, Rupali. That was a brilliant question. I personally like that because when you write down the action that you would like to take, the moment the pen meets the paper, it takes the commitment to the next level. Right? In few of my coaching sessions, what I do is I ask these people to write down the action that you would like to take, and I ask those people to sign it, because the moment you sign it, your commitment level goes to a very, very different level. Stringing a nice solution-driven narrative. One thing I would like to take up for the next session is the Pentorch table exercise. It simply changed the game to the next level. Absolutely, yes. Coaching looked so simple yet introspective. How can you ask what else differently and always effectively genuine and with humility? Manish, definitely. Anupam is definitely one of the most humble senior executives that I've come across. And I'm very grounded in when I'm saying this. He's one of the most genuine and humble person I know of, right? I learned, and I would thank the coachee well after the session. Yes, Ananya is getting worried. Yeah, it's okay, Ananya. Thank you so much. So thank you so much. Now, just start typing. Anupam, if she's getting worried, I'm okay. You should not get worried.
Daughters rule the dads, and she's like, and interestingly for everyone else, I've got two generations. I've got my daughter who's also listening to this, and I've got my parents also who are listening to this. So the parents are not so technology savvy to know that Gaurav is making up the questions. So they're getting extremely worried that Ananya is saying all these things publicly. So Gaurav, you're causing a lot of chaos in a loving way.
Thank you. The next one is I also like the coach's attentiveness and preparedness for the next question. Yes. So mom and dad, Ananya is not saying anything. That is only me, one of your younger sons, who's just being a trouble at the home. That's it. My apologies. Just fun. Okay. So let's type in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm assuming that you would have picked up one thing for yourself that you would like to bring into your next session. Just a few. I would love to understand few of them. Just write it down here. Deepshika is saying, can you please tell the truth about me as well? Deepshika, he knows me really well. Don't worry. Okay, guys. So now let's take the next step. Right now, I would love to understand. And if you were to be a compassionate companion walking with the coach, that could help the coach to move to the next level. Listen to the words very, very carefully. If you were to be a compassionate companion to the coach, that would allow him to move to the next level. if you were to look at the conversation from the session perspective, so my question to you is even better if, EBI, even better if. So what is it that could be done differently that would have allowed the conversation to move to the next level now? So you may want to type it down in the chat box. Her realization on her own, yes. So I don't think that there is any feedback coming, Anupam, on that. So which is a good thing. There are a few questions, Anupam, in case you would like to take. Shall we?
Sure, Gaurav.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, there is another Q&A forum. So in case you would like to, write it down there, I would be more than happy to take your questions and ask the master himself. There's one question. Anupam is so one of the questions, a very genuine question. Thank you so much, Sanjeev ji, for asking this. By the way, Anupam, how are you feeling now? That's a question.
If I'll be really candid, at the end of every such session, to me, this is not just a session. It's now a part of my ecosystem. It's a part of my journey. I can tell you, most of my sessions, I have at least a couple of things that are, that the coachee leaves with the coach. So when it was summarized by Shalini that not thinking too much, just doing it, and the people who love you will love you more. That's such a powerful thing. And I'm a facilitator. The journey is of another individuals, and it's a privilege to be a part of the journey. So I feel very humbled, and I feel inspired at the end of most of my coaching sessions. I just think it's a huge gift to be able to exchange milestones on one's life's journey and see it from the lens of another human being. So it's just such an humbling and amazing feeling. I mean, nothing that I've done in my life ever before in the last 25, 26 years has come close to what I've experienced after I went through the journey of becoming a coach. And all thanks to Gaurav for taking me through that.
Thank you, Anupam. You're extremely kind. Okay, so there are a few questions more. One question is, what is the difference between addressing a client in the first person and in the third person? Is there any deeper nuance to this?
In my style, there isn't, because I believe that whatever comes out naturally, so I don't do it as a nuance thing. I personally prefer to address in the first person. I mean, that's my style of rapport building or getting through to the person. So sometimes if you're in the third person, while it's a one-to-one, the person may not immediately subconsciously respond. So I just prefer to be in the first person.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, how did you decide that you will bring a third person perspective here? Very similar question.
Yeah, look, to me, often it is a matter of seeing what is the task at hand, what is the contract, what is it that we're trying to achieve. When it is something as deeply inherent as willpower, as you would know, it's as close to your internal subconscious as it can be. There isn't too much that probably the person doesn't subconsciously know. So there, my effort usually, or my past success or experience has been that if we get the person in a reflective mode, our subconscious is a collection of all our experiences over the number of years. And often the answer is there. It is about bringing that from the subconscious to the conscious. And a third perspective, especially of a person that the coachee might trust, is just a way of bringing it front of mind, from the subconscious to the frontal cortex to the conscious. So that's why I just on the instinct decided to use that. And later on, I thought that because it's so inherently personality trait, very close, very deep, one should then try and link it to her being able to convert that to action, because it was very deep, like just do it. 3 words, but very, very deep. So how does the coach then, you can't just pivot when somebody is in that deep phase. It's very difficult to get them to think action, right? And my coaching philosophy is that things have to get converted into result-oriented action. So that's why I then from there naturally moved to the second one, which is when you look back, what do you think you would have done? And she herself came to, I see myself executing. So that's really the honest and elaborate thought process.
Thank you. There's another beautiful question. some tips on how to handle a roadblock. So here is the question. When you are not moving ahead with the coachee, anything in particular that you do, Anupam, to move the conversation forward?
Look, honestly, it is always the coachee's journey. And I think if you are deeply interested in the coachee, then in most cases that won't happen, because you've established the initial period and the coachee realizes this is an opportunity and they have sort of opened up. If I take a parallel analogy of a doctor and a patient, though it's not a right analogy from a coaching perspective, you're not trying to prescribe or solve. But once the patient gets comfortable in talking, they will narrate a lot more than they had originally planned, probably. So I don't see that happening. But if it does, in my experience, it's about handing the conversation back to the coachee in a subtle way, letting the coachee know that the baton is with them, the mic is with them. So you could say something like, could you tell me something more? Or you could paraphrase. Paraphrasing to me is something which is a huge differentiator in shifting that accountability of the conversation. So when you paraphrase, the person is listening carefully to see whether you have paraphrased it correctly, and they take accountability and ownership of the conversation. Because if I paraphrase incorrectly, then the coachee will stop me and say, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was X. So when you get stuck, these are 2 or 3 things that in a natural flow can be leveraged.
Thank you. There are more questions coming. Now, I know the answer to this question, and yet I'm not going to speak. It says, how did you maintain your presence? That's who he is. Anyways, Anupam, over to you. How did you maintain your presence?
I don't even know if I have a presence. I'm very humbled. I must take a moment to I don't know what value I added to others, but a lot of you in this really difficult time have not only made my day, you have made many more days to come. And it's always a gamble when you have your family listening and all such things, but sometimes it works favorably. So first of all, thank you so much. If you feel that I have a presence, then I will just repeat the first line that I heard in my coaching when I joined coaching. And as a practicing CEO and executive, you go in thinking you know it all. And the first line I heard is that you don't find coaching, coaching finds you. So there is a reason you are here. You are if you want to romanticize it, you are a chosen one. You are there. So if at all there is a presence, maybe it's credit to all the coaches that have made me a part of their life journey and thereby added something to me. If I hand on heart, I do feel I have progressed on the journey a little bit over the period that I have been into coaching. So I would just credit it to all these interactions. Look, on another note, this was a very positive session, and from a coaching perspective, Shalini was fantastic. I've also been in situations where after the session, I've come home and just crashed. Like I've been just like I needed glucose. So sometimes it can be very difficult for a coach. So I'm not saying it's all easy. When you are becoming a part of somebody's life journey, it is also impacting you. We are human, we are emotional. We are not logical human beings. I mean, I hope you all know that, right? That's at least my hypothesis. In that situation, yeah, you got to be very, very conscious that this is the coach's journey, and you don't want to jump in and prescribe and start relating to your own. And that's something you have to be consciously what is also called in coaching, as some of you learned people would know, holding the coach position. So a lot of that has now, in a certain way, transpired probably in my real life, hopefully as well. That was a really tough question. Sounded very innocuous.
I'm feeling so happy and so proud of you. I remember this statement that you don't choose coaching. Coaching chooses you. Coaching identifies you. Coaching discovers you. Thank you for repeating that. Love your skills, knowledge, but your humility is amazing and enduring.
Thank you once again.
You'll make people fall in love with you. Okay, so here is another question. Dominic, thank you so much for your for sharing this. Really humble. Thank you. The next question is really wonderful, and I'm not sure how we are going to address this, Anupam. It says, if the coaching conversation had to continue after 2 weeks with Shalini, there are 3 questions to that. How would you reestablish the goal statement? How would the progress journey would look like? What are the 2 techniques you will use? Karabi, as per my understanding, this is a very hypothetical question, because you never know how is it going to take on from there. Would love to listen to Anupam's view though. Anupam, over to you.
Yeah, look, Gaurav, as you know better than me, absolutely. So for when I go for a follow-up session, I'm only deeply interested in knowing what happened between the first session and the next. If you remember, I was telling Shalini that I was reminding her that so when we come back after 2 weeks, what will you be sharing in a subtle way? And she was like, well, I'll be diarising this, I'll be writing this. And then we asked about the accountability. So as a coach, I think that's all we do. It is again a journey which is not forced, either in terms of the time it's going to take or in terms of whether the person will do it or not. It is a coachy driven process. So I go into the next session always just reestablishing, okay, this is where we ended, and then that's it. I have zero expectations, zero outcomes. There have been sessions where nothing has got done and we've had to go back, because again, these are deep things. People sometimes come to you after having spent years going through that process. So if they set a 2 week time frame, you respect that. You don't challenge it, you don't reduce it. But at times they come back and say, no, it was too hard. Look, I could only do 2 days. And then you used to start that journey further from there. That, okay, so what happened? What was the, again, you started here, what would you like to do? What was the barrier? Then you get into that, and then hopefully 2 weeks become 4 days. And that's why the word journey is probably the second most common word I've heard in the coaching manual. Right? It's a journey.
I remember there's another friend of mine who was going through this program, and he heard this word journey. I started the conversation. I started the program. I said, "Who you are is how you coach, and coaching does not. I mean, you don't make coaching happen in your life. Coaching finds you." I started this conversation, and this gentleman is, again, he's doing very well. He works with Samsung. He said, "Gaurav, I'm really tired of this word journey. And how long is this journey?" I said, "You have just started the journey, my friend." And he said, "Okay, again the word journey." Okay, so here's another question. Anupam, it says, what one should do if a person tries to be somebody or someone he cannot be, but does not want to accept it?
Again, as a coach, you can hold your coach position and help the person on the journey of self-discovery. I mean, who am I to judge whether the person can or cannot? So even the starting building blocks of learning that I had to go through was to suspend judgment. If you are not able to suspend judgment, you won't be able to maintain the coach position. A coach's position is, in my experience, as I said, 26 years, 15 years being on the boards and all that is nothing when it comes to being honest, when you're just one-on-one with someone and you have to suspend all that judgment and be that one person to create that safe space where the person is, why do people need coaching? Because everything else in the outside world is extremely laced with judgmental aspects, good or bad. And we have got conditioned to those judgments. So I think the beauty of that journey is that anything is achievable. It's the coach's journey. As a coach, you hold your position and you allow that person to go through that process. And that's all that I can do as a coach. So I have no abilities to judge what a person can or what they can't, nor is it my role. That's the way I look at it. I may be wrong, but that's my way of processing it.
Thank you, Anupam. Here's the next question. Are certain people non-coachable or all can be coached? What do you think?
Well, in my experience, if I can get coached, and so can anyone else, I personally don't believe that there is anyone. And look, when you identify that you need coaching in your own journey, and you get to that point, I think 50% of the journey is already done, because you have accepted that you want to be a better version in some shape and form of what you are. So anyone who has made that decision, they're already 50% there.
Thank you. Here's another question. What do we do if we as the coach hit a dead end without reaching the solution to the coach's challenge?
Again, I don't think that it's really about reaching a solution. I think it's about establishing that dialogue. I think it's about establishing that, some of those exploratory questions. When you start a coaching session, you have probably no idea what the problem statement is going to be. What is it that the coachee would like to process? So you cannot come up with solutions. The objective is that, look, I really would have never been able to prescribe anything here. Hey, how do you improve willpower? No idea. It's an individual's journey. What is easy for someone can be very hard for the other person. So I think, look, if you are hitting a dead end, it is about getting back into the conversation. It is again about, probably we haven't understood and we haven't got the communication going. There's a breakdown of communication. That's what I experience when there is a dead end. So it's about going back and Gaurav used a great example. Sometimes a little bit of humor helps. Sometimes, and not sometimes, always, honesty and vulnerability helps. So there are times where I said, look, I apologize. I'm unable to get through, or I'm unable to understand what has been articulated, can we go back? Can we paraphrase again? Can I summarize this again? Have I missed something? Would you like to tell me something more? So a lot of you commented on humility. It's because, look, you are deeply interested in the journey of the other person, but it is not a parent-child discussion here. So if there's a dead end, you restart the communication, you show that interest again, you summarize whatever till whatever point you were there, and then hand it back to the coachee.
Yeah. Thank you, Anupam. Would be okay, Anupam, if I share one cent from my understanding?
You are the guru. You are the guru.
Yes, yes, I'll just share my limited understanding. There's a bunch of coaches, we were sitting together and we were discussing, and somebody asked this question that, what if we come across a dead end? And so what we started discussing was beautiful. And as a conclusion that we came up with is, coaching is a journey. And when you are saying the other person the conversation is meeting the dead end, it could be a possibility that it's a dead end according to your perspective. So if you are carrying too much of burden on your shoulder, that in every session I have to deliver results, then you'll be only focusing on the results rather than being fully present with the other person. So that is one. Second is, something that emerged from that conversation was beautiful. It was, in every conversation, help may or may not appear in the form that you see help as. I shall repeat that. In every conversation, help may or may not appear in the way you see help as. The moment we start following that my responsibility as a coach is just to be with the other person and let him find his own battle. Let him find his own deeper challenges. Let him find his own self. And that's the journey. Thank you.
Yeah, Gaurav, just to add one more line, just because it is very contextual from the session we just had. One of the things that prevents that humility is the fact that we all normally tend to value knowledge quite a lot. We believe we are very knowledgeable. We believe we have all the answers. We believe we are very wise, which is the opposite end of humility. I would throw it open to all the people on this webinar, including Gaurav. If you go back to the question and the area we were trying to work with Shalini, it was self-love. And I promise you, that's like, if you was to really ask me, that's like half the world's population, if not more, that is probably struggling with that concept as we speak.
More than that, Anupam, I can guarantee.
More than that, right? Yeah. Probably 1% have got it. You're right. 99% are struggling. Think about it. Who would have summarized? I'm not saying it's a guidance. I'm not saying it's an outcome. If we all put our heads together, we probably wouldn't have survived something which says, just go ahead and do it. Just do what you think is right, what excites you. Because people who love you, people who you are always worried about, people who love you will love you more if they see a happier version of you. How profound is that? And I promise you, if all of us, all the people who are in the coaching fraternity, we're all to get together and say, let's put 2 lines on self-love. I promise you it will fall way short of this one thing. I mean, I've written it down. I will put it in bold and I'll add it to my cupboard of journeys. So once again, thank you, Shalini. And that to me is the power of the process. When you let the process take over, a lot of questions I just saw in the chat window about the technique, strategies, you have to submit to the process. It's like a flow of water. You cannot try and cage it. You cannot try and direct it. You can at best go with it. Will it sometimes throw you with pebbles? Yes. Will you get knocked down with some rocks? Yes. But then you're in that journey. You'll go past that rock and in the next one, you'll be back in the flow. So more we submit ourselves to the power of the process, the more humble we become and the more we unlock some of these real valuable nuggets.
Thank you, Anupam. Anupam, here's the next question. What were the investment you made to become an effective coach in terms of the book and the courses you took?
I did a simple thing. I don't know how long it was. That was probably 2.5 years ago. I got the name of a guy called Gaurav Arora. I called his cell phone and I said, I want to enroll into this coaching class. Do you have a seat? He said, well, it's probably 6 months away. I said, no, I want to do it like now. And that's probably when you have that urge. He said, well, you're in Delhi. We are having a session, but it's in Mumbai. I booked the flight and I was over there. So you just have to make that first step. One thing I will say is, again, I don't value the knowledge. What I value is that in those 3 to 5 days, in those 2 parts that I went through with ex-monks at that point, being there for those 5 days and all, I think it was, Gaurav,
8 days.
8 days, sorry. Those 8 days was the biggest and the best investment. And being in that cohort, being with those people, going through that journey together, some of the most eminent people as my peers, the great brands, Tata's, LIC, so on and so forth, just being a part of that, it's like being in an ashram. When you are in that zone, when you and everybody there is doing a particular thing, a lot of outcomes flow. So it's that experience that I would recommend rather than knowledge, books, content, formula. That all that is available on Google. You can do it.
So there's a question, and Shubha, we'll be very soon. We'll be coming up with this program. So we'll be coming up with this webinar. So I think that would be even better, because here we are right now only focusing on the competency. The question is, how can you also have an insight on how to build a brand as a coach and the business of coaching? How do we build it as a business? Shubha, I'll be more than happy to get into conversation with you. And of course, we'll be coming up with few more insights around this only. Very soon, you'll find us launching something new. Thank you so much, Subhaya. Do you ever encounter a situation where the coach is unable to arrive at a contract?
Yeah, of course. And again, arriving at a contract is not always a key part of a session. If you get there, it's great. You could spend 45 minutes going to and fro. And that's absolutely fine because it's flowing. As long as it's flowing and there's communication, you could get to the point. And again, I've been vulnerable enough and honest enough to say, look, I was trying to get to a point where we agree, but we haven't been able to do this in this session. But here is what we have got to. And if we are, bound by time, it's okay. Sometimes people have also asked me, should we extend the session? And my personal preference is probably not, because again, this is a process which requires some absorption. So I want to go back as a coach and go through my notes and reflect, why couldn't we get to the contract? What was missing? The person was talking about willpower, but the person wasn't clear. What does it mean? So maybe we've had some conversations. Let's give the coachee also time to reflect. Look, again, these could be life changing. Like somebody said, these things that you come out with could be life changing. So if it takes you 3 more weeks or 2 more weeks or 2 more sessions, it's absolutely worth it. So I don't overvalue all these steps that we are taught. If they happen, that's fantastic. If they don't happen, then you go with the flow.
Yeah. So the next question is coming, which is again one of my favorites, because we talk about using different tools in the art and science of coaching program that we do. So Anupam, very good session. Thank you. Do you use any specific tools? If so, can you please share?
No, I think nothing specific. I think the tools are out there. The science has progressed to a great level. I'm not even right sort of in touch with the latest because being in the corporate world, there isn't enough time. But look, I think the tools that I went through, I think I haven't had the need to go beyond those. And I think if I really look at all the aspects, I think the two aspects. The first aspect where you are starting off and getting to the point of using tools to get to why is this important? Again, if I take you back to the session, Shalini said, I want to be a better version of myself. That's very required for the person's commitment to whatever they're going to take on, because again, it has to be internally driven. So once you reach that level of motivation, she herself summarized when you look at the value of the session saying, it's not as if the list weren't there, it's not as if I didn't know, but that motivation changes everything. So I think figuring out that whatever you're going to undertake as a journey is worth it, I think that part is very important because that ensures accountability. The second part, I think, is going through the experience. So, when you're going into your own subconscious, because again, the coach is not going to stand with you in that journey. It's not going to force that journey. You'll be out of that session and you'll be back to the normal world. So what will be with you is what you experience in that session. So it's anything that allows that to happen. And obviously it is situational. It cannot be prescribed or prejudged or learned. I think it comes with experience. So these two factors is where I try to spend most of my energy.
Thank you. There's another wonderful question, and the world is talking about this question. How are you being more effective during coaching through virtual communication rather than face-to-face?
Oh yeah, this was one of my biggest worries when I heard that people want to be coached over the phone. And actually in our coaching certification, I remember Gaurav made us do this exercise where we were sitting back to each other. So, we did role plays and two people were being certified. We were told to sit on chairs like this. So you couldn't see the person. And really, as many of you would know, in the art of coaching, at least in my humble experience, it's a lot about having the ear, active listening. And that in the virtual world can happen by virtual, it can just be on the phone. So I think having that ear, active listening, is the sort of fulcrum of it. Actually, sometimes seeing is a distraction. If you think of as in terms of the coach, you want to be mentally with the person completely, and sometimes when you're seeing the person, you want to be listening more to what the person is saying, and that will probably give the cue of where you want to take the conversation next. So if you're not listening and you're only following a flow, then as I said, you will lose the art of it. You will follow the science, but you lose the art of coaching. So for the art of coaching, in my humble experience, listening is very important, and therefore the only thing I focus on is on listening.
Thank you. Yes. So there's a dedicated module that we talk about in the Art and Science of Coaching, the 8 days program that we do. And in fact, we are doing this program online. We are starting the program in the first week of June. In case you are an aspiring coach, I assure you the program is going to be a great value addition to you, because we talk about the different tools that you're talking about. We talk about how can you be an effective coach online, on phone, on Zoom, on Skype, and there are different techniques that you may want to use. So if you look at, there's so many techniques that Anupam's used during the conversation: the art of asking powerful questions, taking a pause, backtracking, and we invest a lot of time in helping you learn all that. It's not a very theoretical program. It's not at all a theoretical program. It requires a lot of investment of time and energy and commitment. So yes. There's another question. It says, Anupamji, how important is it to use the full allocated 45 minutes of the session? Can it happen that the coachee journey gets completed before the session time, right? How does the coach restart or leave it there?
Yeah, to me, there isn't time. There's an indicative time because it's been established that 30 to 45 minutes keeps it tight. But I don't run it by the clock. Some people follow the best practice of just keeping an alarm. So you might keep a 30-minute alarm and say, I got 15 minutes to wrap up. Sometimes you want to get the conversation to actionable outcomes. So that helps. But I really don't care for the clock. If we are done and we are at that moment where the coachee is arrived at the outcome that they like, you can see it and you can hear it in their voice, and they're charged and they want to get onto the action. You don't just hold them back and just keep summarizing. You don't want to lose the moment. You want to end it at that moment.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a very good question, Devang. My personal 1 cent here is that anything that is a concept in your mind, the moment you get into conversation, you keep all your concepts out. So time is a concept. Because what really happens is the moment you have got any concept in your mind, it will actually grip you, would not allow you to be in flow. So the best thing is to let go of all the concepts that you have in your mind and then be fully present for the other person. It might take 20 minutes. It might take 7 minutes. It might take an hour, right? How can I be fully present for the other person? Next is a compliment. Like the client, the coach also embraces his own vulnerability, fears, and gremlins in his head. This makes for him being a great coach. Willingness to tell oneself that I don't know develops humility. Again, a trait which defines a good coach. My favorite quote is of Socrates. It says, the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know. Great session. Thanks to Anupam and Shalini. All right. The next question is, would it be possible if you can just share do's and the don'ts for a coach while handling sensitive subjects?
That's a tough question. Look, in the don'ts, we already discussed a lot of stuff around not getting judgmental, about not losing the coach's position. I think that's the real thing. The do is to remain in the coach's position. So yes, as I said, you've been in these difficult conversations. You want to become a part of that, but you are not a part of that. You have to be away from it to be absolutely objective and to absolutely get the person to get out of that frame. Somebody spoke about the frame. So the person who's come to you in the situation as a coachee is in a particular frame. So if I take you back to Shalini's session, she was like, I've got a weak willpower. I'm not able to execute. But that's a particular frame of mind. And if you allow yourself to become a part of that frame of mind, then how will the two of you get to the outcome where it moves to the positive, action-oriented change? So I think the do's and don'ts is simple. You got to be very, very conscious of your coach position. And you got to be very conscious about working with the coachee using the tools and techniques that you have to change that frame to a positive frame and to change that frame where it can be action. It can be seen as something controllable, something that I as a coachee can change. And then I think you've done your job as a coach. So the topic can at times make you sensitive, but your approach has to be the same.
Thank you so much, Anupam. Thank you so much, Shalini. Thank you so much, everyone, for being such a wonderful coach, for a wonderful being a coachee, and for being wonderful participants. Thank you. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everybody. Stay blessed.